Commission is hereby called to order. And by the way, Happy New Year to all. Roll call, please.
Ms. Acker? Here. Vice Chairman Koss?
Present.
Chairman Ripka?
The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Well, thank you, Eric, for signing up for another tour, at least until June 30, I believe.
Whatever, June 30th.
I think that they're going to realign all of the appointment dates, if I'm not mistaken, to coincide and start fresh.
He's already reappointed for that, so his term is done.
Oh, so it's not everybody terminating as of June 30?
No, what we're doing is just, once we get to that point, everyone's dates will just change.
Okay.
So if you were up on, I don't know, December of 2019, instead you would be going to June of 2020. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Everyone's terms will be extended 6 months. We just haven't gotten to that point.
So you're with us anyway.
Yeah, he's stuck with us.
Yeah.
He's already been reappointed.
Yeah, so your appointment would happen in November, I think it was. So
Yeah, I
we
saw
got you reappointed. So congratulations, welcome back. Okay, please read agenda item number 3 into the.
Approve the motion summary for the meeting held October 4th, 2017, as recorded and transcribed.
Having read the motion summary in advance, does any commission member wish to initiate further discussion? If not, do I hear a move to accept and approve the subject motion summary as recorded and transcribed?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, we have such a move by Mr. Koss, second by Ms. Ackers. Roll call, please.
Ms. Acker? Yes. Vice Chairman Koss?
Yes.
Chairman Ripka?
Yes. Motion carries. Please read agenda item number 4 into the record.
Update of the police officer certified list.
I yield the floor to Chief.
Thank you. For consideration is an update to the police officer certified list. We just recently ran another group of candidates through physical fitness and the oral interview and have names to add to the list as well as names to remove. On the bottom of the list, under the hired, removed, disqualified list, you'll see a number of names that actually rolled off the list as of October 5th, which was one day after our last meeting, so they officially need to roll off today. And then the names added to the list are in locations 1 through 15 in the certified list, and then number 17, Matthew Martin, is also being added to the list as of today.
Okay, good. Or the last list to this one, there's 2 individuals, D6 and D9, Isaac Altenberger and David Fairman, who show is added and they were added last time. So did they reapply and retake all the tests just to get hired?
Yes, they did. They went back through the process to try and improve their scores.
It worked because they both went up. Very good. Does any commission member have any further questions? If not, do I hear a move to accept and certify the police officer certified list as presented?
I'll make that motion.
All righty. Second?
Second.
All right, we have such a move by Ms. Acker, second by Mr. Koss. Roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Koss?
Yes.
Chairman Ripka?
Yes. Motion carries. Please read agenda item number 5 into the record.
Update of the fire lieutenant certified list.
Okay, I yield the floor to Chief Donahue.
Thank you, and Happy New Year. We're requesting an update of our fire lieutenant list. This list was approved October 4th, 2017. Since such time, we've actually promoted 2 lieutenants. Tim Piles been promoted to lieutenant, and Chris Needing is also in the process of wrapping up, and I believe his promotion actually takes effect next Wednesday. So we're recommending that list be updated with the removal of those 2.
Okay, the commission extends our congratulations to Lieutenant Timothy Pyle and Lieutenant Chris Needing and the families on their promotions. The commission also appreciates the invitations extended by the administrative services to attend such hiring and promotional ceremonies. I think it's very nice to be there, and I tell you, been to several of them, and I think it's a very proud moment for the city to witness these things, firsthand.
And I can tell you that I know the individuals appreciate you being there as well. I think
They do.
it shows
They
that continuity of our relationships that we have here, not only from the body of the personnel on the streets, but also from legislative boards that are out there and committees.
Very good. Thanks, Maureen. And Whitney, welcome. Does any commission member have any further questions? If not, do I hear a move to accept and approve the update of the firefighter recruitment process as presented?
I will so move, Mr. Chairman.
All right, second.
Second.
All right, we have such a move by Mr. Cost, second by Ms. Ackers. Roll call, please.
Ms. Acker?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Koss,
Yes.
Chairman Ripka?
Yes. Motion carries. Please read agenda item number 6 into the record.
Presentation of the 2017 Fire Captain Promotional Hold List.
Okay, I yield the floor to Chief Donahue again.
Thank you once again. This is a presentation of a it has been identified as a promotional hold list. This started back in 2015, where we are now doing the written test in advance of any position opening up. But what this does is speed up the process should a vacancy occur, that we don't have to now review our existing process to see if there's any changes in the processes that we want to use, and bring it before the commission to have them approve it, and then start the whole process of the notification of the 2 weeks and then the 45 days of studying. We start that out on an annual basis. When a position does not exist in the department, it's just a plain written test. There's no certified list that comes before the commission. It just is in a hole. The fortunate thing for us as a fire department is not only having the process sped up, but what we utilize procedural-wise within our department is when a vacancy exists because of a Kelly Day vacation and a person in a promoted position is off, we are now utilizing these people to fill in that capacity and serve in that the role that they will be filled. So they're really getting their feet wet, if you would, and we're to see and witness their capabilities while they gain the experience and knowledge of working in that. It's worked out quite well. So we're bringing forth the promotional hold list for the captain's position, which has 4 names on it. This promotional hold list will be effective until December 18th, unless a vacancy occurs, which we will then move forward with the certification of the list. We would start the process up. I can almost guarantee that this list will be coming certified. I've had an existing assistant fire chief's position opened up, and with the approval of the budget, they're opening up another captain's position, which that is exactly what I'm looking at doing, versus filling the assistant chief's position, and that will create some ability. I really don't have any of my captains at this point in time that are interested in moving up to the assistant chief's position, because a lot of them are getting close to the retirement, and so and they want to remain within the union, and this position's outside of the union. So what we've looked at doing is opening up another captain's position to allow some of our younger guys begin the process of moving up, and at some point in time, then filling this. Just gives you a bit of a overall background of what we're looking at accomplishing. But this list is just for a presentation; it does not require any action whatsoever.
I see. So if a captain goes on leave or some extended time, these people can fill in with some actual experience. So it's like,
yes,
it makes it easier to qualify for a job if you have acting experience, you might say.
exactly.
How long has your assistant fire chief position been vacant?
Just came vacant in June of this year.
What administrative assistant?
Administrative assistant became available, I think, July, and I've had a temporary position opened up, or temporary September.
Yeah, it's a compliment to the HR staff, because I've been looking at the staffing probably for the last 6 months, and vacancies just don't sit around very long. So it's pretty good to keep those things rolling through.
And actually, both those positions have been placed on hold because of my decision, because we were trying to work through the assistant chief's bit. the administrative assistant, there's one additional position that we'll be filling within the organization. That's a data GIS position, and I wasn't sure if our budget administrative assistant and that, so that's why I was holding off and looking at trying to offset that. But we're it's clear that we're going to be able to do both of those, and that's why we're moving forward with those positions.
That's very good. And thank you for getting us the signed copies. That was very helpful. Because I went back into the archive, but they referenced changes and where's the meetings, but I never saw the final copy and wasn't quite sure where to get it. So that helps. Thank you. Does any commission member have any further questions?
Just like to point out to the chief, appreciate the strategy and looking at the captaincies and seeing that, you know, our captains are approaching retirement age, so working a strategy to get younger guys into those roles so that we have continuity when those retirements start to hit. That's good thinking. Thank you.
Yeah, not very many organizations I've ever been part of had career ladders where you can actually go from all the way up and you know exactly what training and experience you need. So it's pretty good. Last thing you want to do is get into a situation with clients, you know, hiring pop-ins. So it's pretty good to bring some 80 home runners along. Okay, do I hear a move to accept and certify captain promotion list as presented? I will so do so.
I don't think you actually need any type of
Okay.
action. It's just a presentation. You have in records. The reason that was just so everybody was aware from the Civil Service Commission to our firefighters that there was that presentation.
Okay,
That you
so-
had a copy of it. But anything further at this point will take the process and become a certified list.
Okay, that's fine. I misread the 15 minutes then. Okay, that's good. No public here to solicit any comments. I have a couple things that popped in my mind as I read sort of news stuff. This has to do with police staffing, chief. And we talked about this about a year ago when I noticed that there were no national staffing standards for our workforces across the country. Traffic control, and they were mandated to us, and we came up with ranges. But I noticed there was an article in the Dispatch where the city of Hilliard commissioned a law firm to do a study on their staffing. And I think what they're really looking at is some objective, concrete evidence that would help them with their 2018 budgets. Do we need any? How many would we need? And they did a similar kind of study that you've done where you get into the calls and you find out what is absolutely on task versus off task, how much room we have for community policing, you know, and trying to get to staffing levels over there. But it didn't seem to be very well received by the city council for a variety of reasons. Look at the department, just looked at certain segments of it. But I know that I went to the cook-off meeting and looked at some of the budget submissions before they made the final ruling, and you did have 3 positions that you had requested in the 18 budget. Could you tell us what those before? Are you at liberty to tell us?
Sure. I did ask for another officer. I also asked for more of a conversion and an addition of a part-time parking control officer to a full-time community service officer who would do parking enforcement and also zoning and code enforcement and animal control. And then a property and evidence technician that would assist our tech with, she's pretty much overloaded right now. So we asked for some additional capacity in those areas. We have looked, and we've done a lot of the studies you referred to that I don't know specifically what Hilliard did, but in 2008, we had a consultation and had a recommendation from the PAR group, which was Alex Weiss from, I think, the Chicago area, and he used utilization factors. And that's something we've done really every year since then to look at staffing. And that is a patrol responding to calls for service, staffing assessment, and how much time your officers are on activities and how much is available for unutilized time for patrol. The amount of community engagement we're trying to do, the amount of special events we have, and the overtime we're incurring is none of these formulas take into account the special events, the overtime, and covering shifts, and they don't take into account the attrition you have in your department. So even though I'm authorized at 54 officers, and I'm technically down 1 officer right now that we're hoping to fill with this list, but I'm in actuality down 5 because I have injuries. I have 1 officer who's not available. So a department our size will always be understaffed, even if we're fully staffed. So Senator Holman has reached out, and there's a professor with Michigan State University. His name's, I think it's Jeremy Wilson. And he actually has partnered with Alex Weiss, who did our previous consultation. And he is kind of a specialist through Michigan State and through the COPS office in police allocation and staffing. And so we've had some tentative discussions about our staffing levels and allocation, but then I brought up these issues. So we agreed that at the turn of the year, we're going to kind of circle back and talk about those things. So I think he's kind of interested in how these factors play into the police staffing model as well. And there's really nothing out there on how you take these things into account. And that's what's hurting us right now. So much time on the board, and it's not city overtime. It's, you know, we had churches that all wanted security over Christmas. We have the warming center. We have the stores that wanted security. We have road projects. We have construction projects, and we have so much that we can't fill it. And now the sheriff's office can't fill it, and they have their own. So it's not just us. It's a universal problem right now. And it's kind of, I think it's an interesting concept to see how they fit these things into their staffing formulas. But so far, there's not an answer to that.
Right. So I see a lot of talk about number of officers per 100,000 population. But
That's a
not the
terrible
right
standard.
metric.
That's
That's not right, you know?
Yeah, Detroit, and it means not because they're administrative. Yeah, seriously. You look at the bigger agencies, they have way more officers per 100,000, but they're top heavy too. And really, you look at utilization factors, how your patrol officers, how much time they have for proactive patrol, because that's where you get that police omnipresence, the fear that the police are always there to arrest you, and it suppresses crime. So you want an optimal level of that, but no one's really established what that is. We look for maybe 40% utilization, and you do a number of things to figure out what your utilization is. But if I was to do a quick calculation, we'd probably use 4 officers.
So when you read the preamble of the budget, 2018 budget, it's like zero growth, very limited increases anywhere. And if you look at, and they talk about the long-term out-year revenue stream over there, and you worry about if you can't raise revenue to provide those safety positions, safety workforces, which should be kind of like number one priority mostly, then what do you do? And to look within existing base budget is very, very.
I think
it's
I think the answer to that is it's not just a budgetary issue. So we are looking at things like all of the community engagement projects. The value of the engagement is not just to make people feel good. You create relationships that allow people to feel comfortable talking to the police. So our picnic with the cops, our coffee with the cops, our community day at Ohio Wesleyan, our place of worship training, our active aggressor training at Ohio Wesleyan. We had 300 kids come in. We do these things time and time again. Safety Town, we're reaching out and really expanding our reach, starting with a 2017 budget. We hired and put a full-time position in to just create those opportunities for our line level guys to make those contacts, those non-enforcement contacts. Because community engagement is also very valuable in terms of crime prevention. So I guess the Reader's Digest way of saying that is we want to work smarter, not necessarily harder, or not necessarily with more budget. Because if we can't work with the budget, we have to understand those realities and just be smarter and work harder and be more engaged with the community. And that's what allows us to be successful.
Thank you, Chief. The budget briefings that were held after the initial release of the budget, I think it was in mid-November, were they open to the public?
Yeah, they were work
Is that right?
sessions. They were work sessions, yes.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
And I believe they're also posted on YouTube if anyone wants to go look at them.
Yeah. But you do have slots, so you did get, 4 or 5?
We actually got 4 firefighter positions, and then, as I mentioned, the GIS data analysis. And that position is really, as Chief Pijanowski mentioned, focused on being more effective and efficient through looking at the data and what's really happening in our community. And working smarter, not harder. And
So, and again, you have your own funding stream, but you have to come in to get additional staffing, correct?
that's correct. And the board that you see up here is the legislative board. Tom is really the executive. And just because the fire chief, desires that, does not necessarily mean no different than Congress and anything else. It has to go through an approval process. So as you saw, that's the process that we went through.
But it looks like you had to make a trade-off. You get your new slots, but you lose a lot of those part-time slots that you tried to put in.
So, and that was a decision that I had made. The part-time program has been one that's, even before I got here to this department, has been a long time coming. It was here previously, and for a multitude of reasons was not very successful previously. We started up, and with the last labor contract, we actually got it wrote into the labor contract, how they would be utilized and so forth. And with that, over a year ago, we actually kicked off and hired 4 part-time personnel. But the labor dynamics here throughout Central Ohio and really throughout Ohio has really changed a lot. And what used to be a very prosperous amount of part-time labor pool out there has really decreased. And so looking at that, and while it said 19 FTEs, there was actually more 19 part-time people that we were looking at doing. So knowing that we were not going to be able to get there, I needed to make sure that we were going to be able to still provide the services. And so we really didn't change a lot as far as what we were planning on utilizing per shift. We were still planning on having 3. We're still moving forward with those 3. But we took the money that had been allocated for the part-time and reinvested it to hire full-time personnel that we would know would be there. Our part-time program continues to move forward, continue to utilize them, and I think it's an excellent opportunity for us to see personnel before we bring them on full-time. And we're going through a strategic planning process right now. I believe each one of you did receive a survey back in September. And with that, some of the stuff that we're looking at is the hiring and retention processes that we end up having. And one of the things that we're going to give consideration to is how, because you've heard it here, even amongst our firefighters, how do we get the people here in Delaware involved with the fire department to want to be part of the fire department program? And so we're looking at those type of opportunities, possibly partnering with the Career Center to get them early on. Those are all the challenges that we're trying to do to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Just last week, I read a couple of tidbits that I'd like to share with everybody. 30 years ago, you had up to 17 minutes to escape a house fire, according to the Underwriters Laboratories. Today, due to open floor plans and synthetic building materials, you have 3 minutes or less. And according to FEMA, roughly 7 Americans die every day in house fires. So I guess the moral of that story is get out. And what they were suggesting is don't try to fight the fire, don't go looking for your wallet, just get out of the house.
And as you see in the tweets that we end up sending out, and every chance we have the opportunity, we talk about smoke alarms. They're the single most important thing that you can have in your house. And my kids will laugh. Here's another kid story. This person, they used to laugh at me because they always knew when Sunday breakfast was ready, they'd be sleeping, and John cooking, whether it was toast or English muffins or bacon or whatever, would activate the smoke alarm system. So. But I say that is the sensitivity of those are very important. And when I send them off for with my cooking, it's important that we recognize we have those type of devices in our house because they can and do save lives.
And change those batteries.
Yes.
Because they will leak after a couple of years and then worthless to you. So. All right, I just had a couple. I have one process question, and it has to do with annually selecting the chair and the vice chair. Jackie, do we have to do that? I mean, do we do that?
I think that, I'll double check if you don't mind, but I think with the mayor extending everybody's time, I think that it'd be better served to wait until that time,
Okay,
to the renewal
That's
date.
kind of what we were thinking is we're trying to get everybody on one schedule. So.
That's right. So
between
we'll just-
all the
we'll
boards
just-
and commissions.
Yeah,
so.
so I
All right.
don't hold off.
so we'll address that in the summertime when we meet. Okay, just as one more thing I'd like to put together. In July, we talked about Delaware County ranking 9th in the happiest places in America, according to smartasset.com. In September, City of Delaware ranked 71st on Money's best places to live in the United States and ranked 29th in the Midwest. And just recently, I think you probably read it either online or in the Gazette, City of Delaware ranked 5th in the country when it comes to the best cheap cities for new families. Although I wouldn't quite put it that way, according to the penny order. So, I don't think you get any of those ratings unless you have a first-class fire safety workforce. So, and police to go along with that. So kudos to our police officers, firefighters. And Safe City is one of our 4 strategic plan themes. So that's great. Does any commission member have any comments or questions to ask? Okay.
Excuse me, I did want to, for the record, let you know that I spoke with Councilman Jim Browning,
Mhm.
and he is our liaison, and was not able to come today, he is ill, so I just wanted to let you know that he did reach out.
Okay, good. Definitely cold and flu season. We don't have to
No,
exempt him from
no,
because he's
you're
not
fine.
at work. Got it. Okay, there be no further business to conduct. Do I hear a move to adjourn?
I will make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, we move by Ms. Acker, second by Mr. Cox.
Ms. Act,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Koss,
Yes.
Chairman Ripko.
Yes, meeting's now adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.